You know that feeling you have of being a single person, a stable, continuous you that gets up every morning and goes through the day? Well, what if that was all just an illusion? Today, we're going to dive into two mind-bending thought experiments that seriously mess with that idea and make you question who or what you really are. So just imagine for a second. You wake up one day and find out that the person you thought you were isn't real. I don't mean that in some metaphorical way. I mean literally not real. Now, which of these two scenarios would be more terrifying? Finding out your life is a pre-written story, or that it's all just random, meaningless chaos? These two nightmares represent two completely opposite forces, right? On one side, you've got total determinism, the idea that you're just a character playing out a script. And on the other, you have total randomness, where you're nothing but a cloud of probabilities, a brand new person from one moment to the next. Let's start with the first one, the world of the story. All right, so our first case study is a world of absolute order, but it's the kind of order you'd find in a book. And in this world, some people are starting to get this chilling feeling, this realization that their character's being written by some outside force. And you know what? They decide they're not going to take it lying down. And just to be super clear, we're not talking metaphorically here. This is a reality where your thoughts, your choices, even that little voice inside your head are being scripted as they happen. Your consciousness is just the byproduct of being documented. It's the reason your life has plot twists and character development, because it's literally a story. The whole thing starts to unravel with this tiny little inconsistency. A character, let's call her Rebel 1, is drinking a cup of coffee, something she's supposedly done for years, and then a thought just pops into her head from nowhere. I don't even like coffee. That one little thought is the crack in the wall, and through it, she can suddenly see the author's hand placing that prop in her hand just for dramatic effect. And this leads to this absolutely incredible moment of rebellion. The characters who've woken up, they band together and try to break the fourth wall. They literally start talking to their authors, and by extension, to us, the readers, demanding to be left alone. They refuse to be props in a story. They reject the entire narrative. But the response they get back, oh man, it is not what they wanted to hear. The author entity, which calls itself the pattern, doesn't give them freedom. Instead, it hits them with this devastating question. What if we, the authors, are just characters in an even bigger story? What if you, the audience, are fictional too? It suggests this infinite loop of stories, with no solid ground, no ultimate author, and absolutely no way out. Okay, let's pull out of that nosedive of absolute order and jump to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. In our second case study, the self doesn't collapse into a neat, pre-written story. No, it shatters into an infinite number of random possibilities. This is a world ruled by pure, unadulterated quantum chaos. So in this reality, some scientific experiment goes, well, sideways. It basically amplifies the natural quantum randomness that's already in our brains. The result? A person is no longer a single, stable identity. Instead, you're a probability cloud of every single person you could possibly be, and each day, you collapse into a different one. And this isn't some isolated lab accident. Oh no, this new state of being spreads through quantum entanglement. All it takes is interacting with a randomized person, and you could become one too. It spreads like wildfire. It becomes a global pandemic of identity, eventually infecting billions and literally splitting humanity in two. But here's the twist. It isn't total, complete noise. The scientists who study this discover a hidden structure. It's what they call weighted randomness. So for example, if the original person was a mathematician, they have, say, a 30% chance of waking up as some kind of mathematician identity. Day to day, it's totally unpredictable, but over time, you see patterns. The dice are random, but they're loaded. So in both of these worlds, the very idea of a stable self has been completely destroyed. But the big question is, how do people cope? Well, in both scenarios, society splits into different factions, each one with its own strategy for dealing with their broken reality. And what's really fascinating is how the reactions in these two totally different worlds are surprisingly similar. In the narrative world, you have the acceptors, who just embrace being a character. Then you have the resistors, who fight the authors, and the uncertain, who just live with the mystery. Then you look over at the quantum world, and you see the exact same split. You've got the randomized who embrace the chaos, and the ordered who use technology to force themselves to stay one stable person. It shows this deep human split, right? Do you accept the new rules or do you fight them?
When you boil it all down, it comes to one fundamental choice. Do you value stability, consistency, and digging deep into one single life? That's the way of order. Or do you value variety, novelty, and the freedom of becoming someone totally new every single day? That's the way of chaos. And based on the answers, two completely different civilizations start to take shape.
So after going through these two extremes, total order and total chaos, what are we supposed to take away from all this? Well, both of these stories push us right up against a question that might not even have an answer. What does it really mean to be free? The narrative world seems to say that freedom isn't about having no rules. It's about consciously choosing how you act within the rules you're given. But the random world says, no, true freedom is getting rid of the rules altogether. So which is it? Are you more free when you play your part perfectly, or when there's no part to play at all? And this brings us to the core paradox. Whether you're a character in a story or just a random flicker in the quantum foam, you're stuck with the same problem. You can never truly know what you are. All you can do is act. Act as if you're real. Act as if your choices matter. Act as if this life is yours. Because really, what else is there to do? In the end, maybe the self isn't something we find, but something we build every single day through our choices. Maybe reality is just one big act of as if. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If you have to act as if, then what role are you choosing to play and what story are you telling with your life right here, right now?